Yo guys, I've got a spark which I'm going to use to ignite the fire for the debut of a brand new Skylanders Superchargers gameplay series here on the channel. We are talking today about the debut of none other than Skylanders Supercharged, a series I've very much been looking forward to because it's going to bring about a unique set of rules as we play through the game. So the usual rules still stands, where a element of the area pops up, I must switch out to a Skylander corresponding to that element, and I cannot switch out again until the element of the area has changed once more. But that's the only fundamental rule from all of my other series that remains, because when it comes to just about every other rule we're going to be following for this playthrough, things have been spiced up. So when it comes to our roster, you'll notice that we have a bunch of the classic characters. In fact, it is no coincidence that the 8 classical characters I've chosen are the same as the 8 characters who received Supercharger revamps in this game. That's because we start with their original forms for Series 1 versions, and then after every single chapter they get through successfully, we upgrade them. So a Series 1 Gilgrunt turns into a Series 2 Gilgrunt, and we work our way up through these upgrades to their Supercharger form, so that then that's when those characters, they become Supercharged. And so there's also going to be a score to this series which measures how successful our run through of the game was. A Series 1 character is worth 1 point, and their Supercharged form is worth 5 points, which means that every single Skylander except for Roller Brawl has at least 5 versions for us to upgrade from, starting away at Series 1 and working all the way up towards that Supercharger. Now for Jetpack and Roller Brawls, they are the only exceptions where we have 2 Supercharger forms to get through. We've got to get them all the way Supercharged to their original Supercharger, but then we've got to get them 1 level extra with their legendary versions. But Jetpack and Roller Brawl are the only ones where we are going to be going all the way up to their legendary versions. All of the other characters were just aiming for their Supercharged form. Now Gilgrunt is quite self-explanatory. He has Series 1 through 4, which we get through during each upgrade stage. But then the others get a little bit more complex. So Trigger Happy, his 4th stage between Series 3 and his Supercharge, is going to be his elite form. The same goes for Eruptor and Terrafin. And Stealth as well, you can't forget about her. But then for Pop Fizz, his 2nd version isn't going to be his Series 2. Instead, he's going to upgrade to his Light Core. And that's pretty much how things go. Every other character besides Rollerball has 5 versions to get through. Even though we're doing Legendary Hurricane Jetpack, there's still going to be 4 previous versions of Jetpack to get through when it comes to all of his different upgrade levels. Now here's where things get interesting. If the current character who's on the Portal of Power is defeated in battle, they're not classed as dead. Instead, they are downgraded, not to the previous branch, but they are put all the way back to Series 1. And if the Series 1 version is defeated in battle, they cannot be used again throughout the rest of the episode. In the next episode, that Series 1 is reintroduced, but it will be reset, so it will lose all of its upgrades and all of its health from being level 20, because trust me, when you have these original characters, most of which are almost 10 years old at this point, they have a lot of upgrades and are certainly maxed out on their level. So this is a really interesting rule set I'm playing around with, and I'm actually bringing you this series 2 weeks before I originally planned for it, and that's because by bringing this series 2 weeks early, as this series is going to be introducing new episodes every single Tuesday, that means that by the time the 4th episode rolls around, it's gonna be Halloween. And what better level is there to play for Halloween than Land of the Undead? And Land of the Undead is the 4th area in this game, because each episode we're going to tackle a new area, with the exception being Bandit Train, because that area is going to be combined with the very last area of the game, so that then for the finale, the 12th episode of the series, it is going to be a combination of the Bandit Train and the Sky Eater. It's going to be one hell of a hype finale. Now, as for vehicle sections, we're only playing through the land vehicle sections. We don't need to worry about sea or sky, which is going to make this series so much more fun. And as for our vehicle choice, I felt like it would only be appropriate if we used Golden Hot Streak throughout the entire series, because it's Hot Streak but decked out in gold, which makes it automatically 10 million times better. But say, it's not only based on my October schedule for the fact that this series has been brought forward 2 weeks, but the entire schedule has been shifted over from what I originally promised back in our October Q&A. So we are quickly going to take another run through of that updated schedule, and then I'll be back to usher in the debut of this series. The schedule for October has changed from this to this. Last week didn't quite go according to plan, so all those videos have moved around for slots for October. The 2 vlogging episodes have been pushed back 1 week, as has the Clementine Book 2 review and the special #Film Fridays event that I had planned to celebrate my birthday. Everything else, however, has remained the same, including Imaginators Soul Seekers on every Wednesday and Saturday. I've even added an extra video for Monday, October 30th, which will be a top 10 that ties in with the major Skylanders project that premieres for Saturday beforehand on October 28th. The Skylanders Awards also premieres this month, but it's going to be on Thursday, October 26th, as opposed to the original plan, which was for premiere on Saturday, October 7th. This is a much more concrete and solid schedule, which I should have an easier job sticking to. That being said, the debut for Supercharged has been pushed forward by 2 weeks, so let's get into the rest of the debut episode without further ado. Okay, now that that's said and done already, the difficulty we're going to be tackling here is Nightmare Mode, because I want to have an insane challenge. Demolition Derby is where I'm most concerned. I'm assuming that a lot of characters are probably going to be reset during that portion of the playthrough, but we'll have to see. Now, without further ado, we have Hugo speaking to us, because the cutscenes are going to be skipped over. I've watched these cutscenes enough times, I'm sure you guys have as well, so naturally we're going to be pressing the best button video game, the skip button. But now Hugo has very kindly asked us for a land vehicle, so in that case it's going to be the Golden Hot Streak, as we talked about during the introduction to the series. Now, since we have Golden Hot Streak on the portal, I feel as though the only appropriate Skylander to begin this series with is going to be Trigger Happy. After all, he does say, no gold, no glory, and when it comes to the Golden Hot Streak, you can't get any more golden than that, so clearly that means it must be all of the glory. He even has a Spyro hat, so he's going to be honouring his Spyro's Adventure Starter Pack companion, even though Spyro himself cannot be in this game because someone thought it was a good idea to bring back Trigger Happy, Pop Fizz, over Spyro. Some idiot thought that was a good idea, and then they ruined Pop Fizz! Pop Fizz in this game is tragic. I'm not looking forward to supercharging Pop Fizz. As Pop Fizz gets to his supercharger form, I might just, have a little accident. We might have a little accident where Supercharged Pop Fizz is defeated in battle and I'm forced to reset back to his Series 1 form. Though we're not going to do that on purpose because the whole idea is that I want to build up my score as high as possible. Obviously the highest score I can get is 40, and that is the score we are aiming for, which means that I'm going to need to have all of these Superchargers alive at the end, and in the case of Overall and Jetpack, that means we need to have their legendary Supercharged forms at the very end in order to garner 5 points for each of them. And as for Rollerball, since there's only 3 versions of her to go through, her regular Bone Bash form is worth 3 points rather than regular 2 as it would be technically for second character in her branch. There was an alter ego for Rollerball called Snowball, which looked really freaking sick. The alter egos from Lost Islands always did, and that is why it is a shame that that is not a variant, because in that case we could have introduced that version of Rollerball to the series for another, kind of upgrade chamber of hers, not a literal upgrade chamber in terms of mechanic of the upgrades in this game. But yeah, I think I prefer calling them branches. Trigger Happy had branches from Series 1 to Series 2 to his Series 3, and then his Elite form, and the same can be said for Eruptor, Terrafin, and Stealth Elf. Gilgrant being the only one with a Series 4, he goes from his Series 3 to his Series 4, rather than from his Series 3 to his Elite. Then obviously, Spyro's Adventure were the only ones who received Elites. So Pop Fizz is fortunate enough to have a Light Core, so that can be his branch after the Series 1. Then Jetpack obviously has the additional layer of the branch, with his legendary form at the very end. I'm very much over-explaining this right now, but that really does hammer at home the concept of the series and why we should be pumped for it, because it is something incredibly unique. And it's going to be really challenging now that I'm on Nightmare mode, but because these Skylanders aren't ever killed off from the lock entirely, we can only ever lose access to them for one episode if their original form is killed off and then forced to reset in the next episode. So because no characters are permanently killed off, and because we make it to the end no matter what, so long as we don't lose all 8 Series 1s to the darkness, but even on Nightmare mode, I'm not going to be killed off 16 times would have to be in order for me to be unsuccessful against darkness. So in other words, we are going to be making it to the end of the series. The challenge is how many points can we have at the end, which is why I encourage all of you, the viewers during this premiere, yes, let's break the fourth wall, why don't we? I encourage all of you to play along with the series and see what kind of score you can amount to. We're going to make a competition out of this so that then when the final episode premieres, we can share in the comment section of that premiere just how well we've done. And I would love to also hear your predictions in the comment section as to how well I will do in this series. What do we guess my final score will be? Bearing in mind that at the very end I have to face the darkness. So, because he is a vehicle boss fight, it is very likely that at least a couple of my characters are going to be defeated. But luckily, even when a Supercharger is defeated, we can just simply switch back to the original Series 1. We don't need to worry about not being able to access that original Series 1. We can literally just, as soon as that Supercharger is defeated, take them off a portal, place the Series 1 in their wake. I don't know why I'm going out of my way for all the chests, since this isn't going to be a 100% playthrough. We know this already because we're only doing the land vehicle sections rather than doing the sea and the sky sections on top of that. It's going to be a really fast-paced series because this game is really fast-paced as soon as you take out the sea and sky sections. Trust me, this game is infinitely better without them. It's one of those pieces of content where you remove it and the game is somehow infinitely better. You know, imagine if all these open world games had like 50% less escort missions that really bogged down the pacing of the game. You know, everybody's least favourite type of side quest. In that case, those games would be infinitely better every time, every day of the week. I would prefer to have less of those missions. But that being said, there's a pinata up here and it looks really funny. As you can tell, this is a fresh global save, so I'm back to Portal Master Rank 1 and I have no collectibles in the chamber whatsoever. But that's because I haven't, when I'm recording this, preparing for the premiere, I'm yet to have completed the Supercharger Soul Seeker series. So I don't want to be playing on my PlayStation 4 because then I'm going to be gathering collectibles rather than getting them for the Soul Seeker series, even though I'm meant to be getting all of the collectibles exclusively for that series, so that then we can 100% the game from a fresh save during Soul Seekers. So that's why I'm playing on my PlayStation 5 instead, with a brand new global save, also a brand new Spider-Man PlayStation 5 controller, which looks sick, by the way. I love how the buttons change from the black and the white from left to right. Anyway, Chapter 2, which means that Trigger Happy gets to go immediately from his Series 1 to his Series 2 as he upgrades a layer for getting through Chapter 1 successfully. Look at that. Aesthetically, he doesn't look like he's had that much of an improvement, but then, when you usher in the might of his Wow Pow, oh yes! Take that! Oh, no, that's how you know you're playing with power. Just a reference for NES, which seems almost kind of like a crime, given that I'm currently recording this series on a PlayStation. Even though PlayStation and Nintendo could have had a partnership, but instead Nintendo decided to back out and partner with Philips instead. I'm pretty sure Nintendo are still kicking themselves for that one. Because can you imagine if the PlayStation played Switch games, for example, or just Nintendo games in general, because of a partnership that Sony and Nintendo would possess? Instead, Nintendo wound up giving birth to their biggest competitor, that being the PlayStation, alongside Xbox as well, but, you know, Xbox was likely always going to be its own independent thing. I cannot drive, okay? I am either a drunk driver or just a really bad driver, period. That is why I drive in video games rather than in real life, because in real life there is no way that driving is going to end particularly well. But then again, in real life you also don't tend to find floating islands in the sky, so the realism in this game isn't particularly on point. Anyway, I want all of these gear bits. Gear bits are fantastic. Yeah, there we go. Let's just boost into a wall, why don't we? I really wish that this was one of those racing games where you run into a wall and it just mysteriously disappears. I was playing a racing game not too long ago where a hint popped up saying that if you race into a wall, the wall isn't going to disappear. I'm like, well, that's particularly useful to know. Who saw that coming? That's obviously knowledge that you're not going to get anywhere else now, is it? But say, I'm already having so much more fun knowing that I don't need to slog through the sea and sky sections in this game. Die, 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 die. Thank you! Yes, as you can tell, because we have golden hot streak, we therefore have all of the glory. As Trigger Happy puts it, and no gold and no glory. Now die, 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 die. Let's go. Kill him. Kill him with fire! But yeah, say if we were going to use a version of Hot Streak, we were at least going to use its superior version. Otherwise, I'm not really using Hot Streak in the first place, am I? If I'm not using the peak and the pinnacle of vehicular units in this game, then you might as well just not play the vehicles in this game to begin with. Oh, if only that were an option. If only all vehicle sections were an option in this game, then I'm pretty sure it would be everybody's favourite Skylanders game. Obviously, that's not true in the slightest. Skylanders games are just all so fundamentally playable and fun that literally you could turn around to me and say any one of these 6 games is your favourite and I could instantly understand why.
Things are getting pretty unstable up here, Skylander.
The only objective game which I think outranks all the others is the one I'm currently playing before you, because despite the vehicle controls being janky, the game does control very well. It has a really good physics engine. No wonder why they basically just copy and pasted it for Imaginators. It ain't broke, so don't fix it. Anyway, Earth, so that means we got to switch out for the might of Series 1 Terrafin, because here we don't need to worry about vehicles matching the corresponding element of the area, only the Skylanders. But because the chapter hasn't yet changed, then Terrafin is still at his base Series 1 form. It isn't until the next chapter where, if he gets through it successfully, he is upgraded to the next layer of his branch. But when we make it to the next chapter, it is the Skylander who's currently on the portal who gets to upgrade their branch. It is not whatever Skylander played through most of the chapter at hand. So in this case, Terrafin will be upgraded via his branch. No matter what, Trigger Happy will be unaffected and he will remain as a Series 2 until he, you know, accesses a new chapter, so to speak. So that means that when we get to Chapter 3 at the end of this vehicle section, Terrafin is going to be able to earn the upgrade to his Series 2 form, and then we will remain as Terrafin if the element of the area remains as Earth. Otherwise, we will switch out for whatever Skylander corresponds with the current element of the area. Oh, I just love explaining rules multiple times. After all, by repeating myself, I'm initiating an effect. That effect being to put emphasis on the very thing I'm repeating. It is hard to misinterpret rules when they are literally being shoved down one's throat right now. If I could reach through this camera right now, take these rules, which definitely exist in a physical form, because that's how my voice works. My voice is apparently physical. Can you not see my voice right now? That aura you see around me, that charm, it's just from my very physical voice. All jokes aside, those rules, if I could just reach out the camera right now and shove them down your throat, I totally would, even though that sounds like a very cruel thing to do. And last time I checked, I'm supposed to be a nice, wholesome YouTuber, but you know what? Wholesomeness is overrated. Especially since I am notorious for swearing quite often in my videos, and yet somehow I've gotten through 20 minutes of this video without a single swear having been said, which I think for me is some sort of new record. So we have our first Pulled Master rank up of the series. We get to gain experience. Alright, that's going to be useful when I'm pretty sure all these characters are level 20 already. Thanks for nothing, you useless game. That being said, we are now at Chapter 3, so it's time to upgrade Terrafin to his Series 2 form. The question is, how long are we going to be remaining as Terrafin if the element of the area changes and I need to swap out to a Skylander corresponding to said element? That being said, at least we get a little present whilst playing as Terrafin with the massive ass horn hat, but I'm going to switch that out because I could do with an armor buff.
Skylanders wonders of the
Water! Alright, seriously terrifying the screen time was short-lived because it's time for the might of Gilgrunt. Even the Series 1 is about to be absolutely busted. Plus, I love that combat helmet. For some reason, it suits Gilgrunt really well. Like, it has no right looking this good on his head, and yet here we are. Let's kill the barrels for looking at me funny. They had it coming. You see what I told you? Busted. This is Nightmare mode, might I remind you, and Gilgrunt is still here making mincemeat out of these fools. Anyway, we could care less about what James Prong has to say. As per normal, we're going to press the best button of the video game, the skip button. And since we still aren't concerned with 100%, we're not even going to bother with the Skylanders Overdrive matches. And an interesting thing about the name Skylanders Overdrive is that when Superchargers first got leaked and everybody thought it was fake, the original leaked name for it was Skylanders Overdrive. Obviously that wound up being the name of the Skylanders iteration instead. But I just found it so funny that when this game was leaked for the very first time, it was the first time in a while at least where a Skylanders leak actually turned out to be true. And yet that was the leak that everybody believed was fake. Everyone thought Spitfire was a fake Skylander, but then all of a sudden when the Series 2 Chopper gets leaked, oh yeah, this is legit! Let's kill him. Booyah, baby. And let's not forget that we can get all juiced up. That soda, we're going to call it. That soda gives us some sweet old buffs. Now, just like all other aspects of the game, we're going to blaze through the live wire locks as well. No sparks needed. The quicker we go, the better, because at the end of the day, if we get through these chapters quickly, it means that our characters are going to be leveled up through their branches much quicker as well, which means that we can make it to their supercharger forms quicker. But we have to be ultra careful. There's a lot more risk when supercharger forms come about, given how if the supercharger form dies, we are reset to the Series 1 no matter what. In fact, it doesn't matter what level the Skylander is on their branch, they are reset to level 1 after they are defeated regardless, and they best not get defeated a second time, because otherwise it can't be used throughout the rest of the episode, and yada yada yada. This has been said already. Anyway, this Pinata, once again, obviously he didn't learn anything from his mate back in the jailbreak sequence, because he looks at me funny. I don't get how a pinata can be a he, but here we are. And I feel as though we've initiated Chapter 4 already, and I completely forgot about it. But in the edit, I will obviously on the setup, which I think is pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think of the video layout of the graphics on screen. But obviously, even if I fail to acknowledge that level up through the Skylanders' respective branch, obviously on the video setup it will be changed. So for Series 1 Gilgrunt's case, if he was requiring that of a upgrade along his branch, then on the UI right now you will see the portrait of his Series 2 form rather than his Series 1 form. There's a difference to be noticed there. It's weird for a Series 1 Eruptor to be using the Hot Streak, given that there is a supercharged version of Eruptor that has his own respective vehicle, yet this is the opposite of the burn cycle, the fact that it's a fire vehicle which is not the burn cycle, and it's not even a supercharged form of Eruptor anyway, so even if it was a burn cycle, the alternate fire land vehicle, it wouldn't even matter because regular Eruptor can't supercharge a burn cycle. But let's be honest, Eruptor with a burn cycle is stupid in the first place. I mean, the man doesn't even have hands. How is he supposed to drive? Igknight would have been so much more of a cooler supercharger in this game, and they were picking more bizarre characters as superchargers in this game because they chose Rollerball over Chop Chop. So it clearly wasn't, you know, for utmost classic 8 that they were picking, because otherwise Chop Chop would have been picked over Rollerball for being more classic and more iconic to a franchise than Rollerball could ever dream of.
Thank you, Skylander.
And this is coming from a guy who loves Rollerball, but her Bone Bash iteration is fantastic. It's not as good as the original, because the original was so good that the Supercharged version had a lot to live up to. Bone Bash Rollerball is my favourite non-Nintendo character in this game. So in terms of characters you can actually access on the PlayStation and Xbox versions, Bone Bash Rollerball is my favourite Supercharger. Even then, she doesn't live up to the original, so that should show you how good the original Rollerball is. Okay, Chapter 5, you know what that means. Eruptor gets an upgrade to his Series 2, but there's no use switching out there because the rest of Chapter 5 is going to be tackled in the next episode, which goes live next Tuesday at the same time 5 p.m. UK time. So that means that it's going to go live shortly before the premiere of the Imaginators versus finale, which is definitely going to be an event to look out for, because we have the award ceremony in that series finale, which has been determined by you, the voters. And if you haven't yet cast your votes for the Imaginators versus series, then be sure to check the description for a link to the survey I'm conducting that will, in other words, showcase to me what you think the results of that award ceremony should be. With that being said and done, this premiere is coming to an end. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed it. It has been an awesome debut. I cannot wait in the next episode to be beginning the very same episode as Series 2 Eruptor, since he has in fact earned that upgrade for being on the portal when that Chapter 5 was initiated. With that being said and done, let's roll the outro without further ado. I cannot, in good conscience, end off this video without first thanking all of my incredible channel members whose continued support help make these videos possible. Without them, these videos would be near impossible to make, so from the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate every last one of them. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, there are plenty of options on screen now to explore, and please consider subscribing to keep up to date with all my content. On that note, this video is coming to an end, so thank you so much as always for watching. Until the next video arises, peace!